Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is my review for a Netflix film that I actually was really looking forward to, and that, of course, is Cargo. And what Cargo is essentially about is we center on the character of Andy, played by Martin Freeman, and he basically lives in this post-apocalyptic world where there is this disease out there where, once you get it, basically 48 hours later, you do turn into a zombie, and basically him and his family are trying to survive, even, and they're very low on resources. They've been living in this boathouse, but they're starting to get very low on food and things like that, and it's basically them sort of awaiting for the inevitable outcome, but also trying to protect his young baby daughter from being exposed to this disease, and that's really all I'm going to say. So Cargo in general, I was really looking forward to this movie. Once again, Netflix is not really, a distributor that I think has had a very good track record at all. But I do think they've had quite a few gems, and this definitely looked like one of them. And I'm happy to report that it is one of them. Cargo is a great movie. It is easily one of the best movies I've seen from Netflix so far this year. I think this is a very bleak but very realistic film overall, and we're just getting into right now, starting off with the cast. And right off the bat, that is definitely one of the things I was most looking forward to in this movie. I think that's one of the things that most people are going to watch it for, especially for Martin Freeman, who is fantastic in this role as Andy. What I really love about this character is that this isn't someone who is really tough and has very much hardened. In fact, he does still have a lot of values in him. He's trying to be a good husband to his wife. He's trying to be a good father to his daughter. It's just he knows very well that at any point he could get exposed to this disease and he could very well turn, and he's doing what he can to try to protect them. And you can see that sometimes he does have to make some decisions that aren't necessarily just, but in this world, you kind of have to do that. You don't really, you just have to do what you can to survive, and especially for his family, I really love seeing him doing that. I think he did an incredible job in this movie, especially in the third act. I mean, just holy fuck, he absolutely blew me away here. This is definitely one of his best performances so far. But unlike someone like Rick Grimes, it's very restrained. You don't really see a lot of his sort of volatile sort of edge. I mean, you do, but it's much more restrained, it's much more quiet, and I think he did an incredible job here overall. And then someone else I really do have to talk about that I don't think is getting enough attention in this film is Simone Landers as this character of Toomey, who is fantastic in this movie. She is basically this young sort of Indian girl that Andy keeps coming in contact with, and her life is pretty much unknown, but as the film goes on, we start to learn more about her, and the more we learn about her, the more we really start to feel for her. And her and Andy, the connection that these two do form, I don't really want to get into, but it's actually something really sweet, where they're both at a very low point in their life, and I really did love the way these two connected. I think their bonding is actually one of the best things about the film. It's a very unexpected bond. You don't really expect them to go there, like, from the beginning in the movie, but where they end up going with this, I really did love. I really did love her backstory, and I think Simone Landers, after this film, you're definitely going to see a lot more from her. I think she definitely is very talented, and I'm very interested in seeing where she does go after this film, because she was quite great here. And then everyone else here, I really did love. Anthony Hayes is his character of Vic. This is this guy that's like chasing down Andy throughout the whole movie. You don't really understand why he is, but once you do, you really do start to, once you do understand it, he becomes even more menacing. I mean, this guy, you can tell that he is just so urgent, and he's doing whatever he can to, again, survive, and I think he did a really great job. Caren Pistorius as Lorraine, I really loved her character. I thought she was very good here. David Gulpilil even shows up in this movie. Fellow Leftovers vet himself, even though he wasn't in the show very long, he actually is here, and I thought he was really great. And then Susie Porter as well as Andy's wife, Kay. Not in the movie a lot, surprisingly. I'm not going to tell you why, but I thought she was definitely really great here. She has a lot of challenging material that she does deal with throughout the film, and I think she did an incredible job. Really, everyone, I thought, was at the top of their game here. No one really seemed like they weren't into this film, and I think everyone did a really great job. But now let's get to the directing and the writing, because that is definitely one of the best things about this film. Right off the bat, the best way to describe this movie is basically what The Walking Dead used to be. This reminded me why I enjoyed The Walking Dead as much as I did, because this story feels a lot more personal. You know, now the show is just overstuffed with like 20 characters, and it's gone on so long past its run that it's basically just a shell of its former self. But this is what that show used to be. It's very bleak, it's very hopeless, and the characters, they're trying to remain optimistic. They're trying to hope for a better day, but you just don't think it's going to happen. And I think Ben Howling and Yolanda Ramke did a really good job with, you know, sprinkling that tone throughout this film. You know, there are points in this movie where you're like, okay, maybe they're going to get out of this. Maybe they're going to be okay here. But then there are points where that gets derailed immediately, and you don't really know how it's going to pan out. And I really did love the directing. I thought it was very well done, and it really puts you into this very, like I said, sort of hopeless setting where things just aren't really going well for them at all. I mean, this is a place where there aren't really many people left in the world, and you see how they kind of have to navigate the world through that way. But the screenplay is actually what really impressed me, because unlike The Walking Dead, this is a lot more quiet, and it's a lot more slow moving. In fact, we don't really see a lot of the aforementioned zombies in this movie, which I thought was honestly a very smart choice. They focus more on the people. Granted, The Walking Dead does that as well, but this is not one of those things where it's like, oh, humans are the real enemy. That's not the message of this movie. What the movie really is about, it's how can you still remain a family in this situation, and is there a way to, you know, outlive all the other humans and things like that. There's a lot of great internal struggles that these characters are going through, and especially once a certain event happens to Andy very early on in the film that I won't spoil, I thought it was really ballsy. I was not expecting them to go in the direction that they did with Andy, and I thought it was honestly really well done. And like I said, once you get into Toomey's backstory, the way that these two do bond and the connection that they do have is definitely one of the best parts about this film. And I think that those two characters in general are enough of a reason to watch this movie. I think they're very well handled, and there's a lot of great stuff with like the Indian culture as well. I mean, these are two groups that would never have thought of coming together, but again, because there aren't really a lot of people left, they basically have to, and I really love seeing that. However, that does lead into really my only flaw with this movie, and that is the other characters they do come in contact with. Now, not all, but some of them, you just don't feel like we really got a lot out of. Like, there, for example, there's this teacher that Andy comes across, and she used to, you know, read books to kids and things like that, and I thought, okay, this is really interesting, but then they don't really do a lot with her, and I think they really could have dived more into her character. There are some characters we really do get a lot out of, like the Lorraine character, for example. There is a very dark backstory that she's going through, and I was very surprised. I was not expecting them to go in that direction, and I thought her story was very well handled. But there are some characters that you just don't feel as fleshed out, particularly the characters in Toomey's like community of people. I cared about them, I did, but I only really cared about Toomey. I didn't really care about the other characters that were populating her group. I didn't really care about them as much. But again, the direction that this took at the end, I definitely was not expecting. It's really different from what you've seen in things like The Walking Dead, and I definitely do love that, because again, this film is going to get compared to The Walking Dead endlessly. I'm not going to be the first person that does that. Odds are most people who review this movie are going to compare it to that, and I don't really think it's a fair comparison. I think this movie is very different than that. It's not about just humans versus zombies. It's really about getting out of this situation and trying to find a safe haven. Things that The Walking Dead, of course, has dealt with before, but again, this film just goes a little bit more deep into, and I really did enjoy that overall. The score is also very bleak. It really does go with that tone that I definitely really did enjoy. And the editing, for me, I really didn't feel there were too many times where this movie did drag. In the middle, there were a couple points, I will say that, but for the most part, I was very much into this movie. I thought it was a very well done film, and like I said, it's very different from other films you have gotten of this nature. I think it's very well handled. It's just very dark, and it's definitely not at all what I was expecting it to be. I thought even the locations in this film as well, it's in Australia, and you really do get that sense that this is a post-apocalyptic world, and I thought that was very well done. I really loved the cinematography of everything. It's a very big movie in scope, and again, nothing really felt impractical. It felt like if this were to happen, this is pretty much what it would look like, and I thought they did a really good job with it overall. And there, like I said, there are some moments in this movie that are definitely very hard to watch, but like I said, some of these characters don't feel as fleshed out, so while you do care, you just don't care as much as you really could. Ultimately, Cargo isn't really anything necessarily original. There are definitely some things, like towards the end, definitely was not expecting to go there, but the main story, no, it's not original. We've seen a lot of times, but it's very well handled, and it's very realistic, and I think they did a very good job in giving us a very, like I said, subdued portrayal of what this would be like. There are definitely moments of chaos, but again, this film really explores the more quiet moments in between and what you really do in that situation, how you survive, you know, how are you going to get out of this, how do you stop yourself from getting infected by that virus, and I think they did a really great job with it overall. This is definitely, like I said, one of Netflix's best films that they've done for sure this year. I really did enjoy it overall. Martin Freeman and Simone, you know, the girl who played Toomey, I think are definitely going to go very far. I think they alone are enough reason to check out this movie. I really did enjoy this film overall, and I am definitely going to give Cargo overall a B+. But overall, guys, in my review of Cargo, let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. Love your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.